Welcome everyone to episode 7 of the Sporting Cast podcast. I am your host, Lucas Red, and today we have our first live in-studio session. Someone that means very important to me, my college coach, coach to many guys over the last 50 years, huge in the sport of running, not only in the state of Indiana, but also across the whole country. Please welcome Carmel head coach for 37 years, 14 years at IUPUI, Coach Chuck Koeppen. Chuck, how are you?
Thanks, buddy. Good to be here.
So, Coach, you've been in this sport a long time, and when people think of you, they think of your 37-year career at Carmel. 11 state titles in men's cross country, 11 state titles in women's cross country, and then in 2000 state track meet award for state championship in 2000. And another 3 in the Summit League and 2 in Horizon League.
Correct.
And now you're here, and as you reflect into that, but before that, there was a career before you got to Carmel. Why running? Why did you pick running, and how has it impacted your life from that standpoint?
Well, that's a pretty easy question to answer because I grew up in Valparaiso, which of course you did Chesterton, so
Still paradise.
That's right. But when I was in like gym class, and the teachers like to get together out in the middle of the gym floor and just talk about the weekend or whatever, or the Colts game, or then it was the Bears, and they would just have the class run around the gym floor. And for some reason, I always wanted to be toward the front, and all the good athletes and stuff, they hated to run, so they just jogged in the back and stuff. And so I would get a lot of comments from the teachers and stuff like, hey, you're a pretty good runner. Hey, you ought to try cross country. So I did try cross country, and really looking back on it in junior high, I can't remember too much as far as the results and stuff, but I did reasonably well. And then when I got in high school, my high school coach, Ken Pfeiffer was his name, and he was a great coach. He was wonderful. And he was kind of rough, kind of tough, but he kind of knew what he was doing too. And back then, not that many coaches really knew about intervals and fartlek and all that kind of stuff, but he kind of did. And actually, when I got to college, my coaching there was a lot inferior to what I had in high school. But anyway, that's how I kind of got involved, and loved my coach, loved my teammates. And every year, when the seniors graduated, I just wanted to cry because they were always great leaders, and they always encouraged me. And anyway, I had a good career at Carmel High School running for them. And when I was a sophomore, we were 3rd in the state. When I was a junior, we were 5th in the state. And then my senior year, we were 3rd in the state again, but we had beaten both the teams that finished ahead of us in the state meet. And we should have beat them in state meet, but
Really? Who was that?
We got beat by Ashley and West Lafayette. And Ashley, people are probably going, Ashley.
Yeah.
Well, that's up by, if you've ever been to the state park, Pokagon, it's up in that Angola and that area up there. And anyway, their team went to Colorado to train during the summer.
Really?
Nobody did that stuff back then. Nobody
No.
even went to camps and stuff. I mean, when I started coaching, we started going to camp and stuff, and then once we had success, then everybody went to camp, because I would speak at clinics and I'd say, well, here's one of the reasons that I think we're pretty good every year, here's another, and so on. Camp was one of them, because camp was always fun, and kids liked it, and plus we got that week where we focused on our goals and camp, the running and all that stuff. So
Nice.
that, and then coaching, I always wanted to be like my high school coach. I wanted to be a good coach like him. And that's the reason I went to Ball State, was because my sister had gone to Ball State and she graduated, and I figured, well, if she can make it, I can make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had to have a degree in order to coach, and so that's where I went, and everything kind of took off from there.
So you were very fortunate from the fact that before you even got to college, you knew what you wanted to do in your career.
I did.
And so then you go to Ball State, aside from your freshman year when they didn't let freshmen at the time be on a varsity team.
I was beating all the varsity guys, but I was a freshman, and so I couldn't run varsity because there was a guy named Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who was a great player back then, and everybody was recruiting these freshmen, and the NCAA said, okay, we're not going to do this, and freshmen can't compete at the varsity level. So that lasted only about, 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
But you go to Ball State, you have a very impressive career there. You set a lot of school records. Unfortunately, they don't have the program anymore, but I know you reminisce, and it was a good time in your life. You still speak highly of some of your former teammates, Steve Kearney and Lewark out at West Lafayette. Then you get into coaching, but a lot of people don't realize that you did not start off at Carmel. Tell me more about your initial coaching career and how hard it was just to leave those programs before you got to Carmel.
Well, I had gone to the national meet in track my senior year, running the steeplechase, and I got back from that was run out in California. Got back home and I had like a message from Delville High School or Delville School Corporation, and they had been 9th in the state, Delville, the year before.
Okay.
So they had a good coach, but he was getting older and wanted to get out of it, was going to retire, so he was giving it up. So they called Ball State and said, hey, do you have anybody that is graduating that might, be able to fill in out here at Delville? And they said, yeah, this Chuck Koeppen guy, he's getting ready to get out. So
were you Charles then or Chuck at that time? I'm just kidding. Just keep going. Keep going.
I think I was always pretty much Chuck.
There you go. Keep going.
Except when I was a little kid, then I was Charles or Charlie.
And you get the phone call.
Get the phone call, and I go out there, and we just kind of hit it off, and I became their coach for that 1 year. And you can't just build a program in 1 year.
It's hard.
I mean, we did it probably as well as those kids could have done, but we're not going to be making it to the state or anything. So then I had an opportunity to go to Wapahani, which is, one's kind of on the east side of Muncie, one's kind of on the west side. And but anyway, I went out to Wapahani. I was there for 3 years, and they were 3 wonderful years. And we had started to build something. We were winning a county meet and that kind of stuff, and going to had a kid that was like second in the state in the 800, Bobby Glasson. And he was also our best runner in cross country. But we had the program going in the right direction. And when I met with the kids to tell them that I was leaving, that I was going to Carmel, and they cried and I cried. I mean, it was really tough because we would have been kind of like the Delville, like that was 9th in the state in cross country the year before I got there. That's another reason that guy got out, because all those guys graduated.
Yeah. And there was nothing wrong with Wapahani from your standpoint. Like, you loved your time there. Just you wanted to make a change and go, bigger program, just move the family.
I came down to interview for Carmel, and they had a brand new all-weather track. And not every school had an all-weather track. At Delville, at Wapahani, the track was uphill on one side and downhill on the other,
Really?
And it was gravel. So that's what I would have been leaving. That's what I did leave. But it's funny because I got a phone call from Carmel asking about coming up, or actually it was down then, to interview for a job. And so I'm going, when they said Carmel, and I'm coaching at Wapahani at the time, they go, come down to Carmel to interview, and I'm going like, Carmel, where's that? Because Carmel was just a little community at that time. It was little.
It's not that anymore.
Oh, it's not that anymore at all. But it was back then. And so I said, and you only knew it because David and Billy Shepard were both Mr. Basketballs. And everybody in Indiana knows enough about basketball, they would probably know that they played for Carmel. But where's it at? Who knows? Just north of Indy, of course. But I came down for the interview, and it's kind of funny. I was supposed to go to this administration building, which that's what they told me, but on the high school, it said administrative offices on the side of the high school. So I ended up missing my appointment with the guy at the administration office because I went to Carmel High School administration office there, and they weren't expecting me, and so.
Who is this weirdo with the mustache at the time?
Yeah. So anyway, somebody there said, well, we'll take him for an interview. The guy whose job I was taking, his name was Eric Clark, and he was a wonderful man. He had no idea he was going to be replaced.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So you had a good relationship with him, and it's more of just a shock to everyone that he was getting replaced by you, and it just kind of spurred the moment.
The school board had passed a school policy that you could not be head coach in 2 consecutive sports.
Really?
So he was basketball, which they won a state later on. He was basketball and track, and they told him you got to give up something. So
fortunately, he picked up or gave up track for you to.
Right.
So if he picks track, you may not even end up at Carmel.
Well, yeah, and to go a little bit further into it, when they called and offered me the job, and I had a great interview when I went down there and saw that new track and saw their auditorium and this beautiful facility, and it's even greater now. But anyway, when I went down there for the interview, they called me actually after the interview, and they called me and said, hey, you're going to get the job. You're going to be head cross country and assistant swimming. And I go, oh, wait a minute, because I didn't want to leave Wapahani anyway.
Yeah.
I go, wait a minute. I cannot, actually it wasn't head cross country. And I go, I can't see me not having cross country in the fall. I'm in love with the sport, and I just can't see not being the head coach of that. And also, I don't know anything about swimming. And I really, right now I'm head cross country and head track at Wapahani, and that's the situation I'd like to be in.
So you cannot take credit for the Carmel girls' 30-year run of state championships in swimming right now since.
No, I had nothing to do with that.
Okay, just clarifying.
They probably wouldn't have won those if I was around.
Probably would have been drowning. No, keep
right.
going.
So anyway, they called me the next day and said, you've got head cross country and head track. And when they said that, how do you say no to that? They're answering what you asked for. And so I said, well, let me get back with you. I just want to sleep on it. But it was a no-brainer. They came through and gave me what I asked for. And I did say to them, I said, well, the cross-country coach at the time was a guy named Bill Shepard, the father of David and Billy, the two Mr. Basketballs. He used to be a great player himself and good coach. And he was going to have to give it up for me to take that cross-country. And so I said, I don't want to come down there and take somebody's place that's going to be upset by the fact that they got replaced by this young guy coming in. And they said, no, he only did it for the basketball players, for conditioning. He doesn't care, he doesn't mind giving it up at all. And I said, well, if that's the truth, then I'll take the job. And I took it, and
the rest is history, per se.
Yeah, the rest is history. And it took a while they had never qualified an individual or team out of the sectional.
Really?
At that time. So I was starting from
ground
scratch.
Zero, yeah.
Yeah, ground zero. And it took a while. The kids were good that worked with me, and we worked hard in the summer and during the year and during the off season and the winter. And we
got to where you were.
We built a program.
So let me ask you something about that. When you talk about those first few seasons of, you're fighting adversity, you're trying to build a program, is there an athlete that comes to mind for you? And I don't want to, it's been a long time, I don't want to touch you on names, but has there been an athlete that not maybe just changed the narrative of the program, either through his work ethic or through his success, that helped you, get momentum and B, confidence as a coach? Who comes to mind?
I had a kid who actually used to be a swimmer. I had a kid named Bill Shuey. And Bill, I'll just tell you real quickly, there would be mornings that we didn't have morning practice. Some. We didn't have it every day. But I would hear from, actually it was Eric Clark, who lived out in the area where Bill Shuey lived and said, hey, I saw Shuey out running this morning. And so he would go out and run on his own in the mornings when we didn't have practice. He used to have his girlfriend ride her bike in front of him and, try to keep up with her on the bike. And we used to have practice, and we would have interval. We'd be running, let's say, 1Ks and stuff like that, and then we'd give him like a minute's rest. And this is kind of funny. He would get done, he'd lead the pack, say run 3 minutes, whatever it was for the K, and then I would start to watch on the rest interval when the last guy got in. So the last guy got a minute's rest, but Bill was getting like 1:30 sometimes. And so he came up to me and says, Coach, how can I get any better if I'm getting like twice the rest that even our slowest guy is getting?
Yeah.
And I go, that's a good point. I said, tell you what, Bill, next time I'll bring out 2 watches so I can time the rest of the guys and I can time you.
A Bill clock and a team clock. Okay.
Yeah. So that worked. He went on to, he was second in state in cross country. He led us to our first state championship. He was like second in state in a 2-mile. Had our school record for 20 years at 9:03. Went to Purdue, was 2-time All-American at Purdue. He actually, for the most part, coached Purdue guys because he really knew what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And nobody else there really knew what they were doing that much. And he's revered from all the former Purdue runners and stuff. They all look up to Bill. And it's funny, we had a retirement banquet for me, and kids from all around the country came back in for it. And it was really cool. And most of those people didn't know each other, but I knew all of them. Mm-hmm. So it made it more fun for me. And I just, before the whole event started, I went around to each table and kind of thanked the people that were there. And I got to this one table and I said, hey guys, thanks a lot for coming. And I'm recognizing certain guys. And this guy says, you don't recognize me, do you, Coach? And I go, and it was Bill Shuey. Really? Because he had changed, he had lost his hair, and he had put on
Father Time. Father Time. He's right. Undefeated, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, that was Bill, and it was great to see him there. And he meant the world to me. And the fact that he came up, he was like a banker down in Florida and came all the way up and stuff. So that meant the world to me.
It just speaks volumes of who you are as a coach and what guys think of you. Kind of taking that forward, you have 22 state championships in girls and guys cross country, 11 in each, as I said. We know your best track team, right? The year 2000, the magical season, Charlie was on it, your son. When you look back at your 22 state titles, and I don't want to, offend anybody or put you on the spot, but if you have one race that you need a team to win, guys or girls, do you know what team you're picking?
You mean the team that I...
Like, if you need to win a race of those 22 teams, which one do you want to toe the line that you have the most confidence in?
Oh, man, there's a couple teams. It's hard.
And I know I don't want to put the pressure on you, but...
man, I had some teams...
Which comes to mind first? Let me ask you that.
Well, I had a team that they finished individually 10th, 11th, 13th, 15th, and 18th. Those are top 5.
That's the lowest score, speaks for itself.
Within
Girls
7 seconds of
each other?
From 1 to 5.
Was that a girls or guys team?
That was a guys team.
Okay.
I actually had a girls team that I can't remember exactly what their individual places were, but they scored 19 points.
Unbelievable.
And the girls had already run and the boys were running, and I went on the course and I didn't know what the score was or anything of that girls race. And I see Steve Kearney, who you and I both know very well. Mm-hmm. He's like the guru of Indian running. And anyway, I saw Steve out on the course and he goes, hey Chuck, he says, nice score for the girls. And I go, what'd we have? And he goes, you had 19 points. And it's like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
The perfect
Who was on
score.
that team? Do you know, like?
Oh, we had Susie Stewart, we had Amy Tomlinson, we had Jenny Clem, we had Stephanie Gray. Nice. Those are 4 that I can remember right off the top of my head, but
Give them a break if you are the other three that weren't
yeah,
mentioned.
it's been a while. But they were awesome. In fact, when I don't think it was that, and it wasn't that year, it was a year or so before that we won, and our first 5 girls were all freshmen.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive.
So you're looking forward to the next 3 years, if
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And one of the next 3 years was this team that had 19 points.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
those are kind of the teams that come to mind, from the girls' team and the guys' team that you said.
there was another team that I've got a picture of them around the corner down here in the basement. We called the Fab Five, and they finished pretty much like that group I just said, even a little higher. It was
Guys'
more,
team, right?
Yes, and it was more like 6th, 7th, 10, and 11. But then I had a guy that was 25th the year before.
Yeah.
When he was a junior,
Mm-hmm.
and that day he was kind of sick, and he got 51st. He was a 5th man.
Really?
So that messed us up from having a score like 19 or something like that.
Who was on that team?
That was Josh Janko that didn't have a race, but like I say, it was 25th the year before.
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy named Travis Ray who broke his ankle on a trampoline the night before our season opener.
Really?
And so he didn't come back until late in the season because he had a broken ankle.
That's very impressive. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Aaron Hansing was on that team. I believe there might have been a Watts on that team. There was Adam Smith on that team. But it's hard to remember all the names.
No, yeah, no, that's fine.
But those guys were really good. And if the guy hadn't gotten 51st,
We're talking about
we would have had a score that nobody would have ever believed. You know, it would have been probably low 20s.
The beauty of cross country, my friend.
What's that?
That's the beauty of cross country.
Oh yeah. You're only as good as your 5th man.
Yep. So, is there a team, and you know, if it's IUPUI as well, which I may know the answer to that, but when you look back at your Carmel coaching career, is there a team that did not win that keeps you up at night that you can think of, like, man, this was a good team, guys or girls?
We had some teams, a couple teams that would finish second.
Is there one that stands out?
No, not right off the top of my head. I know at that time it would have stood out, but history has kind of taken its toll on memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some times that we say lost to Portage. You know, I think it did that.
So
once.
this would have been their early 90s then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Portage used to come down for our invitational, and we've got a course that has trails on it, and Agony Hill, much like New Prairie. But we used to have some battles with Portage. In fact, one year they were rated 1st, and I think we were rated 3rd. And they were throwing a football and tennis balls, and we had a real serious team, and we had one senior on the team, then like 2 juniors, a sophomore, and a freshman. Gannon Switzer, the name that I mentioned earlier, that set up the podcast down here, he was on that team.
Okay.
It was a great team. And anyway, Portage was over there throwing a ball and tennis ball, like I say, and football and frisbee. I don't know.
Kind of hanging out.
They were just having a good time.
Was Wilkie the coach then?
Wilkie was definitely a coach.
Okay.
That's when we had the battles.
Yep.
Us, and Wilkie. So anyway, our team went running by them doing that, and our senior, who was a great leader, he stopped.
Who was that?
Mike Toll.
Okay.
He stopped this group of guys that warming up, and he goes, "There is no way those
guys beat us.
Those guys are going to beat us." So he didn't say guys, but he said those guys aren't going to beat us, and they didn't, and we upset them. They were rated 1st, and we were rated like 3rd, and we beat them. It was close, but we weren't going to lose to those guys.
Because I knew Portage had a rich history of at that time. Valparaiso, Chesterton.
The region had some teams.
Well, I remember, because my uncle was on the team, at one point in the early 90s, Portage, Chesterton, and Valpo were actually ranked 1, 2, and 3 in the state. And then at the state meet, I think they went 3, 4, 5, and I believe you guys won. And my uncle always says, you know, one of those 3 region teams probably should have won. I mean, maybe old bias, but his perspective, and you guys pulled it out. But Porridge kept you up a night or two, I guess, back in the day.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
good
it was
program,
fun.
good program in the 90s.
And Wilkie and I were like this,
Yeah.
but I had all respect in the world for him.
Mm-hmm.
He did a good job. I mean, he would get those good. At Carmel during the off season, early on in my career, we had a gym called the upper gym, and it was very seldom used because we didn't have all the girls sports and stuff back then when I first started at Carmel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when the girls sport, basketball probably was maybe going by then, but we had this gym that we had access to. So I would tell the guys, you got to run minimum of 3 miles before you play basketball. And then I would go open up a gym. I'd play with them.
Mm-hmm.
We played basketball all the time. And then once we got all the girls sports and all the other things going on, we kind of lost access to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a locker room.
Watch is going off. Is that your watch?
Yeah.
He's a little old, guys, but he's
Yeah.
still, his smile hasn't faded. Don't worry. There you go.
Is it all?
Yeah.
I don't know.
There you
Anyway, after we kind of lost access to the upper gym, I had to find something else. So what we did, we had a locker room down, it was the old football locker room, and they just moved to a new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But this locker room was available. So I took it over by squatters' rights. I just kind of moved in.
Mm-hmm.
And next to it, they had another locker room that was for like the visiting football team. And in the fall, soccer would use that. And so in the winter, nobody was using that. So we used our locker room, and then we used the soccer locker room for ping pong. I set it up as a ping pong parlor. So
There's a ping pong table in the back of this that probably thousands of former runners of his have played, which will drop
It
the
was
video.
a gift from one of the cross-country teams, and it was the best gift I've ever received.
Mm-hmm.
So then we just started playing ping pong, and we would have like a competition ladder. And if you beat somebody whose name is above you, you erased his name, put it where your name was, and you put your name up there.
Very competitive.
So very competitive.
If you could have one ping pong partner of all the guys that you've coached over the years, who are you taking? One guy. No pressure. Nobody else will be offended.
Oh, well, Andy Cowan, who you know,
Yep.
who used to run for me, wasn't a great runner, but he was a great ping pong player. And plus,
Give him a scholarship for ping pong.
Everybody wanted to beat him. And Logan Rosenberg was another one that was about the same time, back around 2008. And that was last year.
One of your favorite teams?
Oh, yeah. We still get together. We'll get together down here for Christmas. But anyway, either Andy, who was the best, or Rosenberg, who was just kind of fun to play with and stuff, and still comes at Christmas to play and stuff. And Tommy Ullman. But I tell you what, we had some kids that, Chris Walden, who's state champion a mile, pretty good at cross too, and then he got second in the mile and second in 2 mile his senior year, and both guys that beat him set state records. Austin Mudd from Center Grove,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was a kid that won the mile. He won the mile, and then the kid from North Central, Footsum, beat him in a 2 mile. They both set records, and Walden got second in both, and could have had the record, but he got beat.
It's arguably when you think of Indiana high school running, I always say Cole Hocker and Footsum's and Zelasi are the best two. And, there's a lot of debate. Rudy Chapa. You could name. There's so many good. Just a lot of good talent that's been in the state for a long time.
Matheson lately.
Yep,
He ran for Carmel.
Your boy Ben Veach as well.
Ben Veach was up there. Yeah, there was a lot of good. Fouts from LaPorte was good.
Mike Fout, yep.
So we've named a bunch of the best runners, but anyway, Chris Walden, this is a good ping pong story. When he joined our program as a freshman, he was terrible at ping pong. He used to come in after his run, and I would, like the basketball, I would also be involved. My name would also be on that competition ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I would talk smack like crazy because I love talking smack.
He still does.
I still do. I'm not as good anymore. I'm kind of slow. But anyway, Walden, I would beat the crap out of him. I'm talking like 21-3, and that means I probably had 3 bad serves or something like that.
Talking crap right there.
He wasn't very good. Anyway, his dad would wait outside the locker room in his car for Chris to come out. And we would finish our running, back then, we got out of school around a little after 3. We'd be done running by 4:15, and then we would play ping pong. And those tables were busy. We usually played doubles because more people could play. But as far as the competition ladder, it was singles. And anyway, he would stick around till about everybody was done. He would play me in singles and get killed every time. And he would get a little better every time. And his dad would have to wait a little less longer because he was getting better and all that. And finally, he got to the point after a month, 6 weeks, he was beating me.
There you go.
And he learned the top spin and all that stuff coming over the top and hitting it hard. And I never did do that.
Yeah.
But he got so he could beat me, but it took a while. and he enjoyed it. And I went to his county meet when he was in the 8th grade, junior high county meet, and saw him and said, he got like second in a mile. And I said, hey, when you get to high school, you're going to run cross country, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You know, those junior high kids are kind of afraid of you.
Yeah.
You're the high school coach, and it's going to be really hard.
He's this creepy old guy. I'm just kidding.
But he came out and enjoyed it and enjoyed the ping pong. He still comes down and plays ping pong now. And
the rest is history with his career.
He was very good, very good.
So you leave Carmel after 37 years, no regrets. You find yourself at IUPUI, now known as IUIndy, but we'll go with IUPUI.
I like that.
So what we'll talk about.
Just like the hat says.
See, exactly, and your sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Why IUPUI? Why did you want to stay? Were you planning to still coach, or was it something that I know you were kind of done with being a teacher, and it just kind of fell in your lap, the opportunity?
My last few years at Carmel, I had retired from teaching and was just coaching. It's always best when the coach is probably in the school, you know, rather than a lay coach, they call him, that is outside the school. And I ran at Eagle Creek Park every Sunday with a group of guys, John Ferentz, who I think you know, and also Scotty Williams, who I know you know. And Scotty at that time was coaching at IUPUI. And his salary for coaching was pretty high, much higher than they pay in high school. Maybe not as high as it should be, but it was high compared to high school.
That's a whole other podcast topic.
Right.
Keep going.
Right. So anyway, he was going to get out. And but before that, on some of these runs, he had lost his assistant coach or something like that. And he said, hey, if you get out of IUPUI, get out of Carmel, I'd like to have you come down and help me at IUPUI. And I go, well, I've never coached college, always kind of wondered what that'd be like. And I was going to help him out.
Because you never looked at really coaching college when you were at high school, right? Or did you?
Bill Shepard, who was my athletic director, called me in one day and says, hey, I had a call from Purdue.
Oh, really? Okay.
This is when Mike Paline got the job, and it's when Bill Shuey first went there. So I got a call from Purdue. They were asking about you in about coaching cross country there. He said, but I didn't tell him anything good. I think he was kind of kidding. I think he said, he's done a wonderful job, whatever, here at Carmel. But I had just started out at Carmel. And the guy that got the job, and I didn't apply for it or anything, and they never really followed up on that. But the guy that got the job had been in the high school ranks longer than me, had a couple individuals that were state champs. He was from Highland High School up north in the region. You've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
And he's from Highland, and Mike Paline was his name, and he got the job.
I never knew that.
And I got offered the Ball State job a couple times.
Well, thankfully you didn't take that because of the program.
I also got the Muncie North job, but that was a high school job. But the Ball State job, they called and said, it's yours if you want it. And I said, what's it pay? And they were going to pay me the same as they paid their baseball coach, their volleyball coach. And I said, but wait a minute. I said, that's only the same amount I was making at Carmel at the time.
So it didn't make sense for him at that point.
No, and I said, plus I'm coaching cross country, indoor track, outdoor track. I mean, I'm really coaching 3 sports. These other people you're talking about that but they didn't want to pay me more than their baseball coach and stuff because they felt good about those people in their positions and they didn't want to lose them. And they thought if they brought in somebody that made more than them, it would upset them and they might leave the program. So I did have some offers, yes.
Okay.
But anyway, Scotty wanted me to come in and be his assistant. And the people down at IUPUI didn't really care that much.
Yeah.
I've had like 10 different people be like temporary assistants down when I was at IUPUI. So anyway, he calls me a couple weeks after we had talked about it and says, "Hey, I've got good news and I've got bad news." He said, "The bad news is you're not going to be my assistant coach down at IUPUI. But the good news is I'm out as the head coach. I'm no longer going to be the head coach." And I told him down there, I said, "Look, the guy you want to hire is Chuck Koeppen out of Carmel. He's no longer teaching high school or coaching high school, and I know he'd be interested in the job," because we talked about it. So I get a call from them like a couple days later and says, "Hey, would you mind coming down for an interview?" Mike Moore was the AD. I don't know if you ever met Mike.
I knew of him.
Really, really good guy. And had a meeting with him and his assistant, and they say, "Hey, here's if you want it." And they were giving me gear as I was walking out the door. Here's an idea.
And he has plenty of gear here, so I'll take a video and drop it for the podcast.
I've got a lot of stuff here for you people in the future. So anyway, I took the job, and so I went right from coaching the state championship team in cross country at Carmel to coaching indoor track at IUPUI.
So you coached that winter. You didn't even. So you
I
started
coached
coaching. I thought you coached that following fall. Okay.
No, I
that's
started with indoor track.
I didn't know that either.
I remember going to our first meet like at DePaul or Wabash and walking in there, and as a college coach, and all these other coaches knew me as a high school coach, and half the athletes that were out there, I kind of knew who they were because they were just out of high school, and it was a strange feeling. But after a while, I got used to the fact that you are a college coach, you are gonna be okay, and it was kind of a good feeling. It was different, but I enjoyed my years at IUPUI mostly because of Ed Holloway.
There you go, Big Ed. Yeah. We'll give him a shout out.
And the kids I coach, of course.
Yep. No, it was obviously a great experience running for you and able to have some success as a team.
Thank you
when I
very
was
little.
there. You're not so welcome. Inside joke. But for you, there was, like you talked about when you're at Carmel, you had to build the program a little bit. When you first started, we were not, IUPUI was not really winning a lot. Had a couple pop-up individuals, but
Right.
what was kind of that first year that you realized, and who was an impact on, man, this is going to be a good team in the future? There's obviously a big recruiting class, I think, helped with that.
Yeah, we ran in the preliminary to the pre-nats. They have a race for all the big schools, and they have another race, which kind of like a JV race or whatever. We ran that one year, and we got like 29th out of 30, kind of like the team did in a regional this year. And that did not look good. We, like I say, 28th out of 30 or something like that. The conference meet, we went out to Omaha for the conference meet, and we got like 6th or 7th out of like eight teams, and man, I felt terrible. I mean,
because you just had a lot of success in previous years as well.
Right, and the kids ran about as well as they were expected to run. We just weren't that good. And then that day, I remember we went from that course across the street to hotel. Like I said, it was right across the street. And I remember getting a phone call, or Fruits, I think, got the phone call, and it was from somebody at the state meet, and they said what our recruits had finished, and it was like 3rd, 4th, 7th, and 10th. And 10th was the kid from Valpo who was just a junior. You know his name?
Alec Kostelnik?
Yeah, Kostelnik.
Yep.
And he had already said he's coming to IUPUI. So that was like 4 guys out of the top 10 in Indiana. And IU and Purdue didn't get anybody out of that group. And we got 4 of them. So I couldn't wait to get into the office like the next day and see Ed, my boss at the time, Ed Holdaway, and say, hey, our recruits, here's what they got in the state meet.
Because you've never had recruits in the previous years do that, and I think that was a big
Well,
turning
that
point.
was
Just the momentum of it.
That was one of our first years recruit. I mean, I think I'd been at IUPUI at that time, maybe 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we had gotten a decent kid here and there.
Yeah.
But this was
a class.
This was a team coming
Yeah.
in. And we knew, and Joey was in that
Joey
group,
Zielinski, Miguel Lozano, Mitch Hubner, the four notable guys.
Dubs, who wasn't really a recruit, but
yeah, he came in later.
Yeah.
Dakota Dubs of LaPorte as well,
Yeah.
was his high school teammate.
And it was just an awesome group, and we knew we were gonna get better, and we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the Summit League that year, the next year with those guys,
Fourth, right?
We got third, but one team, it was like South Dakota State beat us by 10, and North Dakota State beat us by like 5.
So it was close.
It was close.
So you got
This was like one of Cutter's first years.
and he ran well that day.
Yeah,
too.
he didn't run too bad. I don't know if it's
Ryan Cutter, former Chesterton guy,
Chesterton.
helped get me to IUPUI. I'll give him a shout out for that. But I do remember, just previous conversations with you others. I think a lot of people think that third place conference meet was actually one of the biggest races in your coaching career at IUPUI because it gave you that momentum to keep going. That team.
Those guys that beat us from those other schools, you could see them talking right after the race before scores were announced or anything like, hey,
that's a good race.
What about IUPUI?
Yeah.
They were right there all the way, and we were.
Yeah.
We had guys right in that lead pack. I mean, they knew we were there.
And I think that was, and like you said before, that was a very satisfying team because
Right.
you knew,
We
this
were
is
coming.
the start of what you're trying to build.
We were young, and we were good, and we were getting better.
And I think sometimes a scarier team is, the young and hungry team as opposed to the old experienced team,
Right.
depending on how it shakes out. But
Yeah.
no, that's cool. And then you come in, you guys work your way up. I think 2 or 3 years later, you guys finish 7th in the Great Lakes Regional.
7th or 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
And
What was that team like? Just because, you had a very talented team led by, most notably Robert Murphy, the one All-American that you were able to coach at IUPUI. And, what was that experience just coaching that team for how much talent was on that team and then Robert individually?
Are we talking about 2015?
Yeah, 2015. That was arguably, I would say, the best team in IUPUI to the States still, too.
Yeah.
Conference champs as well.
Oh, yeah. Anytime that you finish in the top 10 of the Great Lakes Regional, which includes about half the Big Ten teams,
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame, you got some other schools that
Butler, Indiana State, very good programs.
Right. And when we got 7th or 8th, I mean, you can just point out all these teams, great teams. And that year, I think they took
6.
They
All
took
4 got the so
Yeah.
for Great Lakes cross country, when you make the national meet, top 2 from each regional, and then they usually do 4 automatic
4.
bids. And to Chuck's point, at least 3, if not 4, were all the automatic bids out of that Great Lakes
Right.
regional.
So
So
some of that
it's almost
goes-
like a damn. What if we got 6?
Yeah, yeah.
But no, one of the best mid-major teams that year for sure.
And we're beating teams like IU, Purdue,
Yeah.
and actually for several years, pretty consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that as a compliment actually to those programs, but we were beating them, so we were pretty good.
No, and Purdue and IU's, maybe not this year as much, but they've had a lot of success since then. I know
Yeah.
Purdue's won the Great Lakes Regional and IU for sure. But what was just that experience of that team? But Robert specifically, what was it like coaching Robert, who was ended up getting All-American in the steeplechase second team a year later?
Robert was a pleasure because he did everything that he was asked.
Mm-hmm.
No
He was my
question-
teammate as well. I was a freshman, he was a senior, so it's cool to be a part of that.
No questions asked. If you said, let's run these 1Ks in 3 minutes, that's what Robert was going to do for you. If he was a second too slow or a second too fast, he wasn't.
He would get frustrated with himself because he wanted to hit what the coaches asked to do.
Exactly. And you know, it's kind of fun to coach people like that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going out for a long, say, 10-mile run, you never have to worry about him cutting corners or cutting it short. Or when you go to Eagle Creek, you didn't have to worry about him hiding in the restrooms
Yeah.
and stuff like that, which every program has those kind of
Yeah.
people.
Every sport, every program.
And we've had those, and you never had to worry about that. Sometimes he could be difficult in a way, but mostly in a good way.
Yeah.
Because it was always things that he wanted to do right.
Yeah.
You know?
Because he wanted the best out of himself. And
Yeah.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was, you know,
And
he is the best runner.
And
from
we've got
IUPUI.
some Robert stories, which we won't get into.
Oh, yeah. He's the man.
Which are hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And he.
All the guys that you coach,
Yes.
you can name 10,000 guys that you
Yeah.
coach that all have funny stories. No, but I think for me, it's just a testament, kind of what you said though, not to interrupt, but being coachable. What is your advice for not just people in athletics, but mainly runners, but you know, people in whatever, being coachable? What is it like from a coach's standpoint, just to have coachable guys?
That's what it's all about. You'll never forget them. You know, just like yourself and some of the guys I've mentioned, that like Kaiser, and I'm gonna get myself in trouble here naming names, Peterson. You know, all you guys out there. You know, the old brain's going, but I don't want to. I probably should have mentioned any names.
Yeah.
But those kind of people are the best. Stam was kind of one of those guys that gave everything he had. I mean, there's been a lot of them, guys. I mean,
High school and college.
high school and college, there've been a lot of them. But those are the kids that you love to see after graduation and stuff. You love to go to weddings and things like that, you know. It's been so much fun, and just getting together with them for whether it's frisbee golf or ping pong or whatever,
golf alumni stuff,
or going to any kind of thing, golf alumni stuff, just to see who shows up. Because the ones that show up are the guys that were so easy to coach, you know, and because I think they gave you all they had because they respected you and liked you, whatever, and wanted to please you.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. And
they want to run for you.
Yeah, right. And they're the guys that didn't, although Damon did. The guys that would hide in the locker rooms and stuff like that. Or when we went out for a run from NIFS, they would go over to the natatorium and hide out. I mean, I've heard so many stories, and God bless you all. I still love you, even if you were one of those guys. But oh man,
there's a lot of highs and lows.
I should have made a list. I still would have forgotten 2 or 3 guys that were great.
Yeah,
I've mentioned a few, but that group of guys, that 2015 team and stuff, a lot of those guys would certainly be on that list. It was fun. It was fun. You know, I enjoyed my Carmel days and the high school kids and all that, but coaching these guys that are becoming young men and getting jobs and getting married and all that kind of stuff that's a real treat. When we get down there and meet down there at the big woods and stuff like that, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Oh yeah.
Meeting you guys for breakfast and stuff like that. Yeah, Ben, Abiel. I think they know that I love them.
Oh yeah.
I try to let them know that. Even Abba. I call him Abba.
Oh.
Alba.
Alex Alba. Yeah, good
but
guy.
My favorite group is Abba, so I call him Abba. But there's all kinds. See, he wasn't really that much of a varsity runner, at least not in cross country.
Yeah, good track runner.
Yeah, pretty good half miler and stuff, but always friendly to be around and jovial, and I enjoy people like that.
So be coachable in whatever profession, athletic career you want, because it makes not only the experience better for yourself, but also the coaches.
Really
and that's why they stick around.
It's true.
You know, one thing that I want to also bring up, and this kind of just came up to my mind right now, and one thing that I think brought the team closer, tomorrow, 9 years ago, is when Jake Graff passed away, one of your former athletes. I know you only coached him for 6 months, really, but take me back to that moment, just because I think the the season was fine, right? We got runner up, but I think that tight knit group really formed that following spring and into the fall. What is it, just from a coaching standpoint, going through that? Because you're trying to coach, but you're also trying to navigate our lives and trying to be a leader as well. Like, anything do you kind of remember from that?
Oh, yeah. I'm with Fruits down at the National Track and Cross Country Coaches Association.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting there listening to a speaker. He's got his phone on vibrate or something like, Fruits, it wouldn't be ringing because he's a professional.
Where Chuck doesn't realize when his phone's on or off. But,
True.
We used the bathroom before we started this podcast, so we're not going to take any intermissions. So keep going.
Anyway, so he gets this call. He's listening and listening. And pretty soon he taps me and goes,
Gotta go.
Gotta go. So we both get up. This is right in the middle of the talk.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a couple hundred people in there, but he's serious. We gotta go. So we go out in the hallway and goes, hey, he tells me what had just happened.
It's a surreal moment. I'm getting chills thinking about it because I can remember getting the text message about it.
Yeah, and I can't remember exactly who called him. But anyway, we were out of there quick because the funeral was going to be just a couple days later. We're down in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We're down in Orlando. And so we got to get out of there and get back home. And we got it set up through, I don't know if it's a group me or what, but we got it set up so we pretty much, talk about a proud moment. I think we had
the whole team. I think there's
team there.
Yeah.
And we walked in and they had like seats saved for us right up front.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about Mrs. Graff feeling at least somewhat good.
We were there, just
to
being,
support
the family
her.
being grateful.
And you've been really good at that because I know you're really close and have been ever since that happened. Yeah. And a few other guys as well.
My class, Kramer, Jarrett.
Yeah. And me being there with Fruits and you guys being there to represent our program was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's not much more you can do than that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there in force, and that was just, I can remember it like yesterday.
And I think the one thing that spoke volumes to me where there were a couple guys, like some of the alumni who just graduated, right? Well, I think like Joey, Miguel, Cutter, I think maybe I'm mixing that up a little bit, but and then Dan and Paul, who are the two high jumpers who were just kind of joining the team because it was right during indoor track, but I'm pretty sure all those, like some of those guys showed up as well. So it's like they didn't know him too well, but I think just being there for the rest of the team and
supporting the program.
So, but yeah, good time. Just wanted to, I guess, give a shout out to, keep your loved ones close, and you never know when your time comes. But to toast to 9 years.
I've had a couple kids on the team that have lost fathers.
Yeah,
you included during that time, and that's tough too.
Yeah, a lot of parents and
that's tough.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess the last thing, you and Rotor coaching during COVID. What was COVID?
Oh, geez.
So I don't want not the lows of that, but just from like a coaching standpoint, what were the challenges like for you, especially? And we can kind of go into this of you've been coaching for so long. What has changed in just the sport, right? Like obviously those are just more the rules, but towards the end of your career, what has changed from when you first started your career versus now? Like in just coaching and with the sport, like is there something that you wish would have stuck more, or wish that has been adopted earlier in your career? Either way.
I'll tell you the biggest thing, and then after that I'll be kind of, I don't know, fade in and out as far as most things that made the most difference, but this is maybe not an answer to your question directly, but shoes have changed the sport more than anything. I'm telling you what, the shoes that they have today,
the technology is incredible
compared to when you were in school. In a mile run, that's 4 laps around the track, would make at least a 4 to 6 seconds difference.
It's incredible.
I believe that.
There are some guys that disagree, but I do agree with that
For
take.
you
It's
people
sometimes
that don't know about this stuff, if you remember the Blade Runner and how he got kind of the spring from his legs, and what's the name of that stuff? That's in there that makes it
like just like the
carbon fiber.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
No,
that
you're
didn't
good.
sound right.
I wasn't gonna get
Carbon
there.
fiber that's in there that gives you spring off the track, and also if you wear those in practices don't take as much out of you then because you're getting that spring. And shoes, it's all about shoes. I'll tell you what, in a 5K, I mean, now you're talking maybe 15, 20 seconds. They make a big difference. Probably at least a second per lap, at least.
I will say this: when you look at the guys, breaking 14 minutes the year before these shoes came out versus the next year, there was definitely a big spike. But I'd also say, which I'm sure you'll agree with, it is part of the evolution of the sport, right? Like at one point, cinders were around the track, and then you had surface it.
Oh, what am I
So you know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, having shoes earlier definitely I think would make a difference in some of these times. But
Oh, yeah.
having a surface track would also help. I mean, help obviously,
Yeah,
but you want to see records are meant to be broken. But it is funny because I did live through the shoes. So
well, when I was talking about, I think it was Joey's induction into the Hall of Fame, and I was telling what his times
he
were.
did go on a rant a little bit, so it's funny.
Yeah, I was talking about times a little bit and stuff like that, and giving him credit for those times, and they were records at the time.
But now if you look at them, they just look like another good runner.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's like you're somewhat embarrassed, like, oh, this guy's getting into the Hall of Fame with those times.
But Joey was really good.
So I had to explain the shoe thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think I went too much on a
No,
rant,
you're fine.
but it's something that those people out there
need to know.
Yeah. But other than that, I don't think things have really changed that much. It's still, I think, the same kind of workouts. Hear Ks a lot and stuff like that. I think everybody does their Ks. Everybody does their long run. Everybody has a system. I think, Fruits kind of took over mostly what we did in practice, the workouts themselves, at a certain point. And he was really into that.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually when Fruits left, Roeder kind of stepped right in, and he did a great job on that.
Yeah.
But I think all that is it's all improved somewhat, but it's all still basically doing the same kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The long runs, the intervals, I always like fartleks.
Yeah.
Even the locations as far as IUPUI is concerned have been the same. I know they still go on the canal path and all
Mm-hmm.
that, Butler towpath. Every time I watch the TV and I see that shot from that bridge down there by the Indianapolis Museum, where you can see down there on the canal,
Mm-hmm.
The downtown canal.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I see that every night when I'm watching, and I don't know if it's some TV station that's part of their commercials or what, but they always show that, and I always think about you guys running there. And really, downtown Indy was pretty cool. I think
it's fun. It was a fun time, and like you said, a lot of different courses.
Pushing people into the canal.
Oh yeah,
especially ladies.
That's definitely a false or a rumor, a false accusation.
Another inside joke, somewhat.
But when you look back at your career, for this podcast, right, the supporting cast, who helped it? I know there's so many people you can mention. I know you already previously mentioned your coach when you were growing up.
Oh man.
But who really shaped you into the person, coach, and just who you are as today?
Well, actually, I can go back a little further because I think my parents, you're going to be a reflection of your dad, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to be. You are. And I think now that I've retired, I think about all this kind of stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of mark did I leave, and why did I do this or that? And my mom was a perfectionist, and I always have. My desk always has to be clear. Everything's got to be in its place and all that stuff. And my dad was he was a carpenter, just regular labor. Well, he was a foreman where he worked, but if you've heard of South Haven, all those homes in South Haven over by Portage.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was in charge of like when they built all those.
Yeah,
he worked for a place called Suburban Homes, and he was the foreman, and he built pretty much all of South Haven and some others around the area. But he was a hard worker. Like I say, my mom was a perfectionist. Would ever say what was on her mind, she would say it, you know, and I'm kind of that way.
You do that.
But then my high school coach, if it wasn't for him, I don't even know if I would have gone to college. But I just want to be like him and be a coach and try to make runners better. I'll tell you another guy. When I was a senior, there was a kid named Don Vandry at Carmel School System.
Yeah.
He was a freshman, but the school board decided that freshmen couldn't run varsity. This is what killed my coach, because if he could have run for us, we wouldn't have been third in the state. We would have been first in the state. But the school board said, no. Freshmen are staying in their building. Yeah. They can't run at the high school. Even though,
it's funny how
around the state, there were freshmen that were running on varsity teams because their school, it wasn't against the IHSA rules. It was just Valparaiso set those rules. And it killed our coach because we lost the state pretty close battle. But drop our fifth guy and put Vandry in there, who would have been our fifth. He would have probably been our second. I was our third because we had Earl Deal, who was a state champion in a mile twice. And we had Vandry's brother, who was very good. And you had me, who was pretty good. And then you put Vandry, could maybe not beat Deal, but he could.
But if he's in that race, it's a whole different
because
result.
He ran exhibition in a lot of our home meets. He'd be a freshman, but exhibition didn't count. Couldn't go through the chute. But he would beat his brother, me, if we had him. Anyway, we continued to be friends. Like when I went to Ball State, I trained my butt off in the summer. I trained and trained and trained.
And he was right there with you.
And him and I got together not only that year, but we were friends beyond that. He went to Wisconsin eventually when he graduated. But all those years in between, when I was at Ball State and he was still at Valparaiso, we trained every summer together. And that made me into the runner that I was.
Thank you, Vandry.
Don Vandry.
Nice.
And my coach, I don't want to get into my coach's story, but he ended up taking his life and so on, which was really sad.
I remember that with you. We talked about that, and that was hard.
And that's because he didn't win a state championship, pretty much. I mean, on his kitchen table in his home after his death was a clipping of us getting third in the state my senior year. That had a big influence on me. I figured if I didn't win the state sometime during my career,
that's a dark thought you had?
I may take, I really did feel that way. And then by 1976, I came to Carmel in 72, by 76, we had won the state. So that pressure was off.
Good.
Well, although I never took that serious, I'll be honest with you. But I always wondered, what if I did coach my whole career and never won? But thank God we won several. So.
Anybody else, in your later life from?
We've already mentioned him, but Ed Holloway, who was done at school at IUPUI. I worked for a lot of different administrators, principals, assistant principals, and so on. He was the most friendly, funny, just good guy as an administrator. And actually Mike Moore, who was there at the time when I first got there, I've heard him, he got inducted in the Hall of Fame like last year, and I've heard him say that one of the best days in his life was when, or his coaching and administrative career, was when he got me to come to IUPUI to coach. Now, you don't think that made me feel good? It made me feel great.
You're getting a little emotional. You're choking up on it.
To have somebody say that you were a big part of their career just by they hiring you, that meant a lot to me, and because I respect them.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people can speak that you've meant a lot to them, myself included.
Well, thank you. And I've had other coaches, Rick Weinheimer at Columbus North. He used to work my camp, All-Star Cross Country Camp, and he's a great coach. That's why Columbus North is back on top now, because
Great program.
he dropped out of coaching for about 6 or 7 years, and now he's kind of back. Well, you can tell he's back because his
they're doing
influence.
awesome.
And Scott Litzkin out here at Westfield, our girls for a number of years just won it pretty much every. Valpo had some good teams and beat us a couple times. And Westfield came around, and people would say, Westfield? Where's that? Oh, Westfield.
Now they know where it's at.
Just drive out here and you'll see Westfield.
Yeah,
and they're very good in football. They were in the state finals the last 2 years, and they had their coach out there, Scott Litzkin, did a great job
Big
too.
impact with you.
Because a couple of times we would beat them, like we'd run them 7 times. They're right here in our county, so we'd see them in a county meet, we'd see them at invitationals, and so we'd see them 6 or 7 times a year. Well, a couple times we beat them like 6 straight times, and then they would beat us like in a state meet.
Peaked at the right time.
Yeah,
that'll keep you up at night. I bet those
that'll keep you up.
maybe we finally got to his answer from long ago.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, that was tough.
Coach, as we kind of conclude this, what is your advice for future coaches just trying to coach at the collegiate level and the high school level? You know, times are changing, especially with NIL, a lot of things, but
because
your
of that,
advice?
I'm glad I'm out.
Yeah, so what's just your advice? If you want to be a successful coach, or give your, what's one thing that you would tell future coaches to keep in mind and throughout their careers?
I would say you got to love it, first of all. And I loved it from high school. From
still
day
do.
one. I still do. And I always will. And the people involved with it. And you can't, I never worried about pay. I remember at Wapahani, my first year, I wasn't hired as a cross-country coach. The basketball coach was a cross-country coach. But I asked him if I could help out, if I could volunteer. And he said,
And you did it simply just because you enjoyed it.
Yeah. And then he kind of let me kind of take charge. And I told him after the first couple of weeks, I said, hey, if you want to, you can just go home. If you don't want to be out here, because I want to, and I love it. And it wasn't like he didn't act like he wanted to be there, or that he did act that way.
Yeah.
But I could kind of tell, and he goes, take it and go, do your thing. And he let me do it. So I wasn't getting any money.
Yeah.
He was getting the money, but I've never done it for the money, and whether it was IUPUI job or Carmel or
anything.
Or even after we won several state championships and at IUPUI conference championships, I never went in and said, hey, is there any kind of bonus here? I never did that. Plus, you can't worry about the amount of time you put in. When I was at Carmel in the summer, most teams run somewhat during the summer, not all of them, but most good programs do. Most of them meet one time during the day. Well,
Twice.
just to make it easier for my kids to make it if they had jobs or whatever. I met with them in the morning at 8, and I met them in the evening at 6. So if they work somewhere, they couldn't make the morning practice, they could probably make the evening practice. Some people, not that I made them or tried to, some people would come twice. But I was always there for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, and I didn't mind, I loved it. But not all programs do that, and this just made it easier for them to be there. Or for the ones that wanted to double up. Probably
made them better too.
Yeah. So, never did it for the money, and then
be available, just be available, like you said. Yeah.
The most important part was the kids you're working with. And I'm sure there's kids out there that hated me, and I hope there's kids out there that love me. And that's why I did it for the kids, and I'd love to see them improve. That was what it was all about, to see them win a conference meet or a state championship in high school. This kid that I didn't coach that much, that we talked about earlier, I got a picture back on the wall behind me, Ryan Sarbanoff, who won the state in the 200
He's the one that's the podcast stuff, right? The lighting.
Yes.
So, thank you, Ryan.
But Sarbanov was a 200 guy. You know, I'm a distance guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I really had little to do with
His
developing
career,
him, his career. But he was one of my favorite guys of all time. Just a wonderful young man, yeah. And he won the state in the 200. The next event, biggest day of my life probably, the next event, my son won the 3200 and won by like 6 seconds. And anymore, it's usually within 6/10 of it.
Yeah, no kidding.
So anyway, that was probably the best day of my life. Plus, just to add to this, a couple times we won the state in cross country, boys and girls on the same day.
That's cool. No better feeling.
Those were big. And I got to say the championships in college, because nobody else was winning. Nobody else from IUPUI, golf team, tennis team, you know, whatever it was, nobody else was winning, but we were winning just about every year. And you come back to the campus, especially in the office, where I had my office.
Yeah.
You were like big
cool.
cheese. It was pretty cool. Even because the AD made you feel really good, Mike Moore or Ed.
Yeah.
And nobody else was doing it. And everybody else wanted to, you know? So those are the big moments, just to kind of cap things off.
Yeah,
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
No, appreciate that.
Because I had a lot of good moments. There's been times that we were second, like in high school at Carmel, or even at IUPUI. There's times we're second that I was very proud of what we did.
Just like you said, that third place finish.
Yeah,
we didn't get even first or second. You were just as proud as that team.
That was big.
Something, so.
And Cutter was on that team. Chesterton guy.
Oh yeah. So
he'll love it that we mentioned his name
twice now. So, coaches, we wrap up. On behalf of myself, Carmel, Wapahani, thank you for everything that you've done for not only me, others from a professional standpoint. I think you've changed a lot of lives. And you know, when you were inducted in the National High School Hall of Fame in 2013, I believe the two big names were Joe Montana and Chauncey Billups, right? Joe Theismann. Joe Theismann and Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey Billups.
I don't have a pack of cards to play poker with you, but you know, on jokes aside, just appreciate everything that you've done, and thanks for coming on to share your story. And
it's been good being here.
You know, in 5 years we'll have you on again.
Well, I'll probably still say the same things. I'll probably forget even more names, and all of you guys out there know that I love you. And I know I mentioned a couple names, but there's a lot more guys that I love, not just the ones that I mentioned. So please believe me when I say that, because it's true. And all the guys that are out there, all the guys I coach, that's the main reason I do it. Like I say, it's not money, it's not time. It's been a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Everyone, feel free to like, subscribe, share as much as you can for all you past and current runners. Great episode. Maybe share to the next generation as well. So thank you, Coach.
Thanks, buddy. Love you.
Love you too.